been an interesting week. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's looking for some talent. I introduced him to a person, right? And he came back, yeah, this individual is great, but doesn't have the right industry experience, not what I wanted to. In today's labor market, right, which is kind of tight. I'm like, really? Do they really like that? I mean, I like the individual. It was fantastic, but, they don't have the industry background. Like, it was a sales position. I'm like, interesting. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think industry specific has to be part of the equation?
I'm shaking my head, right? Because, at the end of February, there was something like 11.4 million jobs open. Okay. I guarantee you that a little bit of what's going on there, I'm not saying exclusively, but a little bit of what's going on there is that organizations are trying to, behave in the way that they typically behave when there's a tighter job market, and that is be real selective about the candidates. And what I have found, certainly in my own experience, is that there's a few reasons why that occurs, right? Some of it has to do with just what I'll call bias, right? If you haven't been in our industry, you can't possibly understand the things that we deal with here, right? That's number one. Number two, it's where that bias comes from. Part of it is because you have in some industries, people that they've only worked in that industry and they have reached those decision maker levels, and they're setting the agenda and they're setting the job descriptions and they're setting HR, on that path. I think there is also, an aspect of this which comes not necessarily from the hiring managers, but it can sometimes come from clients, right? So think about service-oriented businesses, especially those businesses who partner very, very closely in a B2B fashion with their clients, right? Sometimes those clients are dictating what they want from the people that are in the company that's servicing them, okay? And then, of course, you have, what historical practice they've had before. Well, we've always found people for our industry, by going to these specific companies, right? It's one of the reasons why some industries can be so incestuous, if I can just use a word, right? So there are lots of things which kind of contribute to it, I'm surprised to hear, maybe not shocked, but I am surprised to hear that you still have leaders who have that kind of bias. What's been your experience with it? Can people go from industry to industry?
Well, I think they can. My personal background, I started out with, in manufacturing, the toy industry, and then went to the automotive industry. Truly, it was manufacturing. But then I went to technology, right? Working for Nokia for about a decade. Had no technology background. And then I went over from finance to sales and marketing, and then e-learning or online learning, and now back in technology. And I've been able to jump around from one industry to another. Truly, there was some adjusting period, if you will. You have to be mentally agile to be able to take on the new industry, but it's not an impossible thing to do, right? Funny you mentioned that in today's tight market, because there are some industries that are growing right now, will continue to grow. For instance, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, right? We have cybersecurity, robotics, virtual reality. We got e-learning or online learning has just exploded recently. Big data, right? Blockchain. All of these new industries, if you will, are in desperate need of talent, right? And they embrace taking on some diverse backgrounds, and they do extremely well. My experience has been more established industries are a lot more rigid to be able to go outside. And yet, what is funny enough is a lot of these companies are looking for change agents, innovation, someone to come and shake things up a little bit, but they're looking within the same industry. So basically trying to search for disruptive talent inside the same bubble, which kind of defeats the purpose a little bit.
I think, it's funny. I think you're illustrating one of the key problems, right? That a lot of hiring leaders and the people that support them confuse competency with experience. They confuse those two things, right? And they place much more emphasis on the experience that one needs to have rather than the competency than they actually do have. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why, as an HR leader in my career, I've never had any hesitation getting into a conversation, debate, trying to influence a leader who I felt was confusing those two things, right? Because frankly, when you expand your definition of who can be successful in a role, frankly, you're expanding your applicant pool potentially, or your talent pool, right? And especially in a really, really difficult markets, we have a phrase, right? I'm looking for the purple squirrel. Have you ever heard that phrase before, right?
Please do tell.
Purple squirrels don't exist. They just don't, unless somebody's out there, dying them, right? But the purple squirrel was, the shorthand, if you will, between HR people for a request to basically find someone who had, very diverse competencies, and they did this and they did that, and oh, by the way, they should be 25 years old, as an example, right? In effect, a requisition that you just can't fill. Yeah. And yet it's so surprising that even in this day and age, and in spite of what we've done in terms of trying to increase diversity within organizations, in terms of really creating a business partner type of role where you've got bright, intelligent HR people working with the business leaders to help them in effect solve problems like getting the right talent, that it's pervasive, but it still continues to be a problem that is preventing people from being able to switch industries. Now, with that said, there are absolutely what I'd call roles that are much easier to go from one industry to another. It really doesn't really matter what your experience has been. I've benefited from that myself. I mean, you mentioned some of the industries you bumped around in. I started off in cable television. I went to publishing. I went from publishing to consumer goods. I went from consumer goods to industrial services. I went from industrial services to human capital. I went from human capital to most recently technology. And what I have found is that my skills have been applicable in all of those places. Now, did I have to learn about the industry in order to do my job in the best way? Sure. Was that something that was especially taxing for me? No, it wasn't, right? Yet I do think that the bias persists, particularly in the minds of some leaders who've never had outside industry experience. Anyway, that's my view. What's yours?
No, I agree with that 100%. Look, when I was hiring people, it reminds me of someone I hired. I was working in technology. I was managing $1 billion business, and hired a sales person, and he had no technology background. It was coming from FMCG, really coming from selling milk. But he was turned out to be fantastic. And to your point earlier is what I look for. I look for emotional intelligence, mental agility, right? Really his or her way of working, right? How do they approach the team, the customer, their level of energy and resourcefulness. So I'm always looking at the how the individual performs versus just the what, which is, you can have a specific experience, but I'll be able to teach you the individual, if they have mental agility, will learn the what.
Yeah.
The how, which has to do with personality, it's a little more difficult to change. But that's how I end up looking at different individuals, potential hires.
I mean, you're in the top 10th percentile as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
Right? Because you understand the importance of competence, and presumably you know how to pick it out in a person, right? If part of what I think about when I think about this problem is what enables a change. Yeah. And in my experience, there is no substitute, right, for an otherwise closed industry company going a little bit out on a limb, finding a superstar, and then that superstar succeeding. Okay. I think about healthcare. When I was getting into healthcare, or thinking about healthcare, one of the things that I saw in almost every job posting description, profile that was sent to me was must have healthcare experience, as an example. Okay. And I was lucky in that, at the time I was consulting and I was doing, change management consulting specifically. And I happened to land a project in a healthcare company where, everybody that worked there had been there for 20, 25, 30 years. And so they, in effect, were setting the agenda of who was coming in and who was not coming in, but they didn't have the skill set. Right. It wasn't an industry that was especially good at change. Right. And so I got in there, and it was through the work that I did that ultimately, I think, we began to show that, what people of other industries can be successful. And I wasn't the only one. I don't want you to think that I, wound up changing their mind about things. They also happened at the time to have brought in, several senior folks, senior professionals, senior leaders who came from other industries as well. And they were setting the world on fire as well, in a good way. And I think it was really through that experience that you begin to change minds. So a little bit of it is, being prepared to go out on a limb, bringing in really talented people and letting them do their thing, right? I mean, that has as much effect on a culture changing their way of hiring than anything else. I mean, what do you think?
No, I think there are some roles or disciplines that you do need the experience. For instance, heart surgeon.
Let's hear.
I don't want the dentist to be operating on me. No offense, right?
Or a vet.
Or a vet, right? I mean, I want the real deal. Or some engineering roles, right, specifically. But those are very few positions in an organization. If we're talking about business, we're talking about HR, sales, marketing, finance, general management.
I'd even argue large swaths of IT.
Yeah, well, as well. And I think we're leaving talent on the table, if you will, as leaders, because we're being too narrow-minded. And as you properly mentioned, in today's tight labor market, my humble opinion is a mistake. But that's my opinion.
And mine.
So you let us know. Yeah, what do you think? Tell us we're completely wrong or you agree.
Yeah. Can people change industries? We think that they can. Certainly there are going to be some who say, no, it's impossible. We'd love to hear from you. Agree?
Please. Yeah, do like, comment, subscribe, let us know. But until next time, folks, be good.
And do good.
Take care.